You wake up. It's been 47 days since the bombs fell. 47 days since you saw another human being. 47 days since you heard another voice. You're in a basement in what used to be Denver, Colorado. The air smells like ash and metal. The silence is so complete, it makes your ears ring. You're the last person alive after a nuclear war, and you have no idea how much longer you'll survive. It started 6 weeks ago. You were at work. Thursday morning, 10:30 a.m. You were sitting at your desk answering emails when the alert came through. Emergency broadcast. Ballistic missile threat inbound. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. You thought it was a mistake, like that false alarm in Hawaii years ago. Everyone in the office froze. Someone laughed nervously. Then the second alert came. Then the third. Then the siren started. That's when you knew it was real. You ran. Everyone ran. The streets filled with people in seconds. Cars abandoned in the middle of intersections. People screaming, crying, calling loved ones.
Can you hear
You
me?
tried calling your wife. No signal. The networks were overloaded.
Hello?
Everyone was trying
Can
to call
anyone hear
everyone.
me?
You ran toward the subway. That was the plan, right? Get underground. You made it halfway there when you heard it. A sound like thunder, but deeper, louder. You turned and saw the flash on the horizon. Bright white, brighter than the sun. You closed your eyes, but you still saw it through your eyelids. The shockwave hit 5 seconds later. It picked you up and threw you through a storefront window. Glass everywhere. You don't remember hitting the ground. You just remember waking up in darkness. Dust in your mouth. Blood on your hands. Sirens wailing in the distance. You got up. Your ears were ringing so loud you couldn't hear anything else. The street was gone. The buildings were gone. Everything was just rubble and fire and smoke. People were stumbling around like ghosts. Some were screaming, but you couldn't hear them. You just saw their mouths open. You started walking. You don't know why. You just walked. Away from the flash. Away from the fire. You walked for hours. At some point, the ringing stopped and you could hear again. But by then, there was nothing to hear. Just wind, and distant explosions, and the crackling of fires. You found a basement, an old building that was half collapsed, but the basement was intact. You climbed down. You've been here ever since. The first week was chaos. You weren't alone then. There were 6 other people in the basement, a man in his 50s, 2 college students, a mother with a young daughter, and an older woman who didn't speak. You all sat in the dark and waited for someone to come. The government, the military, someone. You had no food, no water, just what you found in the building. Vending machine snacks, bottled water from a storage closet. You rationed it, 1 bottle per person per day, 1 snack pack. The radiation meters you didn't have. You had no idea how much radiation you were exposed to. The man in his 50s said it didn't matter. If we got hit with a nuke, we're already dead. Radiation poisoning. We just don't know it yet. The college students argued with him. We're underground. We're fine. Help will come. Help didn't come. Day 3, the older woman died. She just stopped breathing. You don't know why. Maybe radiation. Maybe a heart attack. Maybe she just gave up. You moved her body to the corner and covered it with a blanket. Day 5, the little girl got sick. Fever, vomiting. Her mother held her and cried and begged for help, but there was no help to give. The girl died on day 6. The mother stopped speaking after that. Day 9, one of the college students went outside to look for food. He didn't come back. Day 12, the other college student followed him. He didn't come back either. Day 15, you went outside for the first time. You had to. The water was gone. You climbed out of the basement and stepped into hell. The city was gone. Not damaged. Gone. Every building within sight was leveled. The sky was dark gray, not clouds. Ash. The sun was a dim orange circle barely visible through the haze. The air was thick and hot and it hurt to breathe. You walked for an hour and found nothing. No people, no movement, just ruins. You found a convenience store that was partially standing. You climbed through the rubble. Most of the food was burned or buried. But you found 12 bottles of water in a cooler. You carried them back. When you returned to the basement, the man in his 50s was dead, lying on his side, eyes open. The mother was sitting against the wall, rocking back and forth. She didn't look at you. She didn't say anything. You set the water down. You covered the man's body. The next morning, the mother was dead too, sitting in the same position, eyes open. You don't think it was radiation. You think she just decided to stop. That was day 16. You've been alone ever since. The first week alone was the hardest. Not because of the survival part, because of the silence. You'd never experienced silence like that. No cars, no planes, no voices, no music, nothing. just wind and the occasional sound of rubble shifting. You started talking to yourself. Not on purpose. It just happened. You'd narrate what you were doing. Okay, need to find food. Check the buildings to the west. Stay low. Watch for radiation. It helped. It made you feel less alone. You explored the city, or what was left of it. You found more water, canned food in basements, a medical kit with antibiotics and painkillers. You found a radiation detector in an emergency supply store. You tested yourself. The reading was high, not lethal, but high. You're being poisoned slowly. Every breath, every sip of water, every piece of food. It's all contaminated. You found bodies, lots of bodies. Most were buried in rubble. Some were in the street, burned beyond recognition. You stopped looking at them after a while. It was easier that way. You found a radio, battery-powered. You turned it on and scanned every frequency. Static. Nothing but static. You tried for hours, days, nothing. No emergency broadcasts, no military channels, just static. That's when you realized, this wasn't just Denver. This was everywhere. If there were survivors somewhere, they'd be broadcasting. Someone would be broadcasting. But there's nothing, just silence. You're alone, completely alone. Week 3. You started keeping a journal, writing on the back of old receipts and papers you found. You wrote about what you did each day, what you found, what you ate, how you felt. It helped. It gave you structure, a reason to keep going. Day 22. Found a grocery store today. Most of it collapsed, but the back storage room was intact. 50 cans of soup, 20 cans of beans. This is enough food for 2 months. Maybe 3 if I ration. Radiation reading still high. Hands are shaking. Don't know if it's radiation or fear. Day 25. Saw movement today. Thought it was a person. It was a dog. Skinny. Covered in ash. It ran when it saw me. First living thing I've seen in weeks besides myself. Tried to follow it but lost it in the rubble. Felt more alone after it left than before I saw it. Day 30. Haven't seen the sun in 3 days. The ash is getting thicker. It's snowing ash. Like snow, but gray, and it burns when it touches your skin. Had to cover my face. Found a gas mask in a hardware store. Helps with breathing. World looks like a nightmare through the lenses. Day 35. Radio still nothing. Tried again today. Every frequency. Nothing. I think I'm the only one left. At least in this part of the country. Maybe there are people on the other side of the world. Maybe. But I'll never know. I'll die here before I find out. Week 5. You started seeing things. Hallucinations, probably. Radiation poisoning affects the brain. You know that. But knowing doesn't make them less real. You saw your wife standing in a doorway. She was wearing the dress she wore on your wedding day. She smiled at you. You ran toward her. She vanished when you got close. You saw people walking in the distance. You chased them. They disappeared. You heard voices, laughter, music. You followed the sounds. There was nothing there. You know it's not real, but part of you wishes it was. Because the loneliness is worse than the radiation, worse than the hunger, worse than the fear. The loneliness is what's killing you. Week 6. Today, day 47. You're sitting in the basement writing this. Your hands are shaking worse than yesterday. Your hair is falling out. You have sores on your skin that won't heal. You're dying. You know you're dying. Radiation poisoning, organ failure, infection, starvation. Take your pick. You'll be dead in a week, maybe 2. But here's the thing. You're not scared of dying. You're scared of dying alone. You're scared that you're the last person. That when you die, that's it. Humanity is over. Billions of years of evolution. Thousands of years of civilization. Art, music, science, love. All of it ends with you in a basement in Denver. You wish you'd made it to your wife. You tried. That first day you walked for miles trying to get home. But the roads were impassable. The fires were everywhere. You couldn't get through. You don't know if she made it to shelter. You don't know if she survived the blast. You'll never know. You wish you'd said more to her that morning. You'd argued about something stupid. The dishes. The dishes. That was the last conversation you had with your wife. An argument about who was supposed to load the dishwasher. You wish you'd told her you loved her. You think about the people who did this. The politicians, the generals, the world leaders who decided that their pride was worth more than 7 billion lives. You wonder if any of them survived. Probably. They had bunkers, deep underground bunkers with years of supplies. Maybe they're still down there, safe, comfortable, while the rest of the world burns. You think about what they took from you, from everyone. Your wife, your future, your friends, your family, everyone you ever knew, everyone you ever loved. Gone. In an instant. Because someone pressed a button. You're angry. But the anger doesn't help. There's no one to be angry at. They're all dead too. Or they might as well be. Trapped in bunkers watching the world die on monitors. You go outside one last time. You want to see the sky, even if it's just ash and darkness. You want to be outside when it happens. You climb out of the basement. The air is cold now. The fires have mostly burned out. The city is silent. The ash is still falling, soft and steady like snow. You walk to a hill. It takes you an hour. Your legs barely work. You're exhausted. But you make it. You sit down and look at the ruins. This was a city once. 2 million people lived here. Now it's just rubble and ash. You wonder if it looks like this everywhere. New York, Los Angeles, London, Tokyo, Moscow, all of it, just ash. You wonder if anyone else is out there, somewhere, in a bunker, on a ship, in a remote village that somehow escaped the bombs. You'll never know. You'll die wondering. You look up at the sky. The ash is thinning. Just a little. You can almost see stars. Faint. Distant. But there. The stars are still there. The universe doesn't care that humanity destroyed itself. The stars will keep burning for billions of years. Long after the last trace of human civilization has turned to dust. You find that comforting somehow. That something will continue, even if it's just stars. Your hands are too weak to write anymore. This is the last entry. Day 47. You're on a hill overlooking the ruins of Denver. The sun is setting, or maybe it's rising. You can't tell anymore. The sky is just gray turning to black. You're cold. You're tired. You're ready. You lie back on the ground. You close your eyes. You think about your wife, about your life, about everything that was and everything that will never be. This is what it's like to be the last person alive after a nuclear war. You don't die in the blast. You don't die in the fires. You die slowly, in silence, alone, knowing that everything you ever loved is gone, and knowing that it didn't have to be this way. Humanity had a choice, and we chose this. You open your eyes one last time. The stars are brighter now. You reach up like you can touch them, and then you're gone.